Hello and welcome. My name's Andy Crook, and I'm your host for tonight's training topic on depend on systems, not people. Are you a local garage struggling with inconsistent service quality and inefficient operations? Does your business rely heavily on the expertise of a few key employees, particularly you, the owner? When you and these other individuals are absent or overwhelmed, does the quality of work and customer satisfaction suffer? Are you the owner, working long hours, often handling everything from repairs and ordering parts to the customer service, the bookkeeping and everything else? This leaves no time for strategic planning or business growth. If that's the case, then this is the training topic for you. My name is Andy Crook, and my mission is to help garage owners become more successful in business. How do I do that? That I try to go live every week with a short training topic on one of the 5 pillars of business as I see it. This week, we're in the systems pillar, and we're talking about depend on systems, not people. So I'm going to break down tonight's training topic because some of the areas we're going to cover tonight, we've talked to before, so it's always worth revisiting some stuff that we've covered before in a little bit more detail and refer back to them. And one of the things that we're going to look at is in the marketing pillar, and we talked about case studies, where we talked about when you do a case study, you should outline the problem, the solution, and then the transformation. And that's what makes a good case study. So in this case, we're going to use a case study to talk about why you need to build systems within your business. So the problem is your business has been built on a people-dependent model. And don't feel bad if that's the case, because it's true of most, certainly micro businesses, and certainly some small to medium-sized enterprises are still built on a people-dependent model. So then that takes us to the solution. Well, what is the solution if your business is built on a people-dependent model? In it, simply to implement a comprehensive, system-based approach to running your business, in this case, your garage. And the thing to remember about this solution, about implementing systems, is systems run the business, but people run the systems. So we're not getting rid of people. That's not what we're saying. And we still need these key individuals in our businesses. It's just that instead of it being people-focused or people-dependent, we're now beginning to become systems-focused and systems-dependent. So that's the problem. We've outlined the solution. So what's the transformation that will take place by transitioning to a systems-based business? Well, if you transition from a people-dependent to a system-dependent model, the garage will be transformed into a more stable, efficient, and profitable business that can thrive when you, the owner, are not there. And for some people, that is the ultimate goal, is to have a fully automated business where the owner isn't needed. So I can talk about this from a relatively sort of strong experience-based point of view, in as much as I've replaced myself in my business. Some of you will know that I no longer attend my business on a day-to-day basis. I still go, or try to go, at least once a week, but I'm not there every day. And the parts of the business that I was responsible for, because it's a partnership, now happen based on building systems. Something I want to go back over, and it's a question I get asked a lot, or something that I see confused a lot, and that is the difference between a process and a system. So what is the difference between a process and a system? Because just about everybody uses the term process and the term system interchangeably. And I do it all the time too, and so even I'm guilty of it. So what do we mean by a process, and what do we mean by a system? They are similar, but there are key differences. The process is the steps required to complete a task. The system is the interface between the person or the technology, or the person and the technology, and the process, because there must be a bridge. The process will outline how it's done, and the systems are the interface between the people and the technologies used to do it. And one of the things that I like to to explain about processes and systems is processes improve efficiency and systems improve effectiveness. And once again, these are two things that are easily confused, and people confuse efficiency and effectiveness. So what is efficiency and what is effectiveness? Well, efficiency is doing things right, and effectiveness is doing the right things. So that's quite a bit of information in quite a short period of time there. And what I'm doing is I'm sort of laying out the outline in the problem, the solution, and the transformation. The problem is most micro and certainly some small to medium-sized enterprises are built on a people-dependent model. The solution is to implement systems to run the business. And remember that systems run the business and people run the systems. And by transitioning from a people-dependent model to a systems-dependent model, you have a more efficient, profitable business, even one that can run when you're not there. And we want to remember that processes are the steps and the systems is the interface. And efficiency is doing things right and effectiveness is doing the right things. This week's atomic action, because I like to give it an action, because the whole point of these training topics is to make you think about how you're running your business and what's happening within your business. And then to give you a tip or an action idea that you can go away and do if this is something that you think you should address in your business. And basically, the atomic action this week is to build your first system. So if you're a people-dependent business, what I want you to think about this week is building your first system. And what I'm going to do, because I normally give the atomic action right at the end, and I've given it at the beginning after the sort of introduction, is to look at a few examples. And we're going to look at some examples in one particular area. Because previously, when I've talked about systems and how to build systems and what to do and on everything else about systems, I always use the example of the easiest system to implement in your business, a standardized script for answering the telephone, because it's dead simple to implement and it's dead simple to do. And it gives you some confidence that systems are not difficult to do. And most people, when I talk about systemizing businesses, push back in the same way as I'm too busy to build systems. And that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? You have to make time to work on your business and not in it. And how you can generate that time is by building systems. So you have to make time. It won't magic time out of thin air to give you the ability to build a system, but we've also talked about how we do it and get the people closest to the task to outline the process, and then you look at the system as the business owner. That's a key message from previous trainings. So what we're going to look at as an example is customer service systems, and then we're going to look at scheduling and workflow management systems. And then if we've got time, have a look at how we can implement a parts management system, an inventory management system. Other systems you could also think about, but I'm not going to talk about tonight, is a financial management system, an employee training system, a quality control system. They're all typical systems within even a micro business. So let's go right back to the beginning and think about customer service system. So when we think about customer service, it's basically a system for all the touch points that a customer would have with your business. If you think of customer service systems as a standardized methodology and then processes around that for all of the customer touch points with your system. So if a customer's typical entry point to your business is a phone call, then that's a great place to start, as I've said before. So implementing a standardized script for answering phone calls and greeting customers. So when they walk in, everyone says something similar. And when they answer the phone, everything says something similar. And we've talked about scripts before and how the script is guidance, but basically the message is going to be the same. And then when we think about our customer service system on from there, so if we think about that script and we think about the processes involved in greeting customers and answering the phone, is what things could we have in that process that builds into the system? And one of the things we've done a training topic on before is neuro-linguistic programming, which is basically the words that you will use and don't use when you're dealing with customers. And this goes back, right back to the beginning, when I did the Business of Diagnostics course, and we started talking about the word diagnostic, and we started talking about words like quick look, things like that. So they're going to be words that you don't use. And then we're going to start using words that we do use, like assessment. That's NLP. There's a training topic on that. You want to go and look for it. There's also a podcast on the same subject if you prefer to listen to it as a podcast. And then you need to develop a digital customer data form to ensure all of the information is collected consistently. So that's the next step. Can you see how the system is the technology that interfaces between the people to create the process? So whether that digital form is filled out by the person speaking to the customer, person on the phone, or the customer does it themselves, that's all down to the system and the systems you build in your business. But the process and the processes are capturing that data. And when we talk to customers, and we'll probably do a more in-depth training topic on what I call the 4 C's of customer service, which is the contract is clear, the communication is agreed, there's a count, and there's a consensus. So the 4 C's of contract, communication, count, and census. And you must make sure that the work being done is the work the customer has asked to be done. And if the work the customer is asking to be done isn't the work that's required to be done, then that needs to be clarified right at the beginning. So both parties are absolutely clear with what is going to happen to their vehicle once it's been dropped off at the garage. And the next thing is the communication between the garage and the customer and the garage. So incoming and outgoing communication is by agreed methods and times. And we've also talked before when we on about the digital customer data form, correct way the customer wants to be addressed. Is it Mr.? Is it by their first name? Is it by a nickname? Is the prefix Dr., Mr., etc., etc.? You get the idea. And then the count. And this is probably the most important one, because this is basically how much is it going to cost, what's been agreed, and how long is it going to take. That's the one that most customers are interested in. And you have to make that clear at this point when we talk about the 4 C's of customer communication and customer service. And the final one is consensus. So if you get to through the first 3, which is you've agreed what you're going to do, you've agreed how you're going to communicate, you've explained how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost, then you need to have some consensus. Deal or no deal. And the problem here is if you have a people-dependent business and one person, typically the garage owner in a micro business, or it might be only one person who can make a manager maybe in a slightly bigger SME, can make a decision when there is a conflict at the deal or no deal stage. And basically, what you want to do is you want to be able to empower other employees to make a decision on deal or no deal from the business point of view, based on your business values. And you can't do that unless everybody knows what the business values are. So there's another system. It goes on and on, obviously. So that gives you an idea of customer service. It's just a quick whistle-stop tour so that you think about what a customer service system would look like as you start to build it out in your business. And remember, the same with processes and systems is you're always improving them. It's a continuous improvement loop. You're always looking to refine a system and improve a process. The next thing I want to talk about is scheduling and workflow management systems. And I guess in 2024, most garages now have moved on to a a garage management system, some form of digital garage management system for scheduling appointments and staff allocation. If you're still working from an old-fashioned diary, then I would urge you to move over to a digital version. Now, that's not to say that you can't do it with an old-fashioned diary, but it's harder to do some of the processes and to implement different systems within those, that within the larger scheduling and workflow system, if you're relying on a paper-based diary. And the first thing is to make sure you've got the right driver in the right seat. And we've done a topic on this recently. And making sure that you get the right technician to do the right job. And that's not always if you like, the technician that's most experienced at doing that work, and you have to wait for that. There might be bringing somebody else on, and this is the ideal opportunity for them to pair up with somebody a bit more experienced on a job, but making sure that you don't give a job to someone that's out of their capability, or that you're always giving the same work to someone who's previously asked in a one-on-one meeting, that they're getting fed up with doing the same thing over and over again because they're good at it. So you get the idea where this stuff starts to snowball out. And within your scheduling workflow management system, you have to create a system to predict workshop utilization. Because for every MOT service, diagnostic assessment, aircon job, wheel alignment, etc., that is booked in at the front end, there is an implication of work hours required on the back end. Because every other MOT approximately fails, therefore there's going to be work required. And you can have a system and a process for capturing that data and then predicting your workshop utilization based on what work is being booked in at the front to what space you need to leave in the workshop. And that will make work flow through the workshop better. It's a frightening thought to leave too much space in the diary, but if you know how much space you need to leave based on the work that's coming in, it makes it a lot better. And then to create a workflow management system to track the progress of each vehicle through the repair process, so that when you communicate back to the customer, you can tell them whether or not the job's on schedule, whether it's going to run over, whether it'll be ready early, etc., as long as they've asked for that communication. If they've asked for it, you can't provide it unless you've got a system to track it. So we'll move on to the parts management system. And this is an idea that's talked about quite a bit recently, and that is setting up process to order the parts ahead of vehicles arriving and have a goods in allocation process to simplify the task so technicians can quickly check, collect, and reorder as required. And this is something that's overlooked in quite a few garages. And I guess a lot of people order parts for services, etc., ahead of vehicles arriving. And if you know something's booked in for a head gasket, probably a good idea to order the parts for that job. But it's also where the parts go when they arrive, a goods in area where the parts go into, if you like, a container or whatever your system is for a particular job. So the technician, when they get the keys for that job, can go to that particular container. They know it's that job, and they take all the parts with them. Instead of having to scurry around from somewhere, a table or a place allocated in the corner of the workshop, which is become by default the goods in. So that leads us neatly then on to the next stage, which is an inventory management system, where you set up an automated inventory tracking system to consumables, basic workshop supplies, and establish reorder points and automate purchase orders. So you can see how all of those systems can work in driving customer satisfaction, because you're going to be providing a consistent service with improved communication, and therefore customer satisfaction scores will increase significantly if your system, your customer service system, has a process for asking for reviews, because customers don't often give reviews unless you ask for them. Decisions can be made without you based on the values, standard operating procedures, and ethics of the business. Employer satisfaction, having clear processes and expectations, have reduced stress and improved job satisfaction amongst employees. You'll increase efficiency because repair times will decrease and the garage then can handle more vehicles per day without sacrificing quality due to better workshop planning. The work or life-work balance for the owner now is improved because you can work fewer hours in the business, focusing more on the business, developing more or improved systems and processes rather than day-to-day operations and firefighting. The business is no longer dependent solely on specific individuals, and new employees can be trained quickly and effectively using the established systems, which makes the business scalable. Profitability will improve due to increased efficiency, better management, and the ability to serve more customers, which improves your bottom line, your financial performance. And finally, business value will undoubtedly increase because a systemated operations will increase the overall value of the business, making it an attractive asset for potential future sale or even expansion. So if I've made you think about building systems to run your business and people to run those systems, then I've done my job. Remember, what's stopping most people is starting, and if you should, then you must. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.